Hi, my name is Riley Dotson, and today I'll be reviewing the article The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Between the 1870s and 1960s, legal segregation, racially targeted voting laws, and a host of other political, legal, and cultural forces effectively transformed black men and women living in the American South, the period of American history known as the Jim Crow era. The article opens up with a critique of President Barack Obama's speech given on Father's Day about fathers not being there for their children. The article states that the U.S. Census Bureau reported in 2002 that there are nearly 3 million more black adult women than men in black communities across the United States, a gender gap that results in 26%. In many urban areas, the gap is far worse, rising to more than 37% in places such as New York. The comparable disparity for whites in the United States is only 8%. The author then transitions to talk about the negligence and the one-sidedness that the media has shown us time and time again. Alexander explains exactly how the racial caste system works, beginning with the point of entry, the police. Empowered by the Supreme Court, decisions that effectively gutted the Fourth Amendment, police officers may stop and search individuals under the faintest pretext of probable cause. Yet just because the police departments can target millions of Americans suspected of possessing small amounts of drugs, the question remains of why they choose to divert time and resources away from addressing more serious crimes such as murders and rapes. As for why police departments choose to disproportionately target people of color, Alexander blames both implicit bias and pervasive media and political campaigns that frame black men as criminals in the American imagination. Young black men today may just as likely suffer discrimination in employment, housing, public benefits, and the jury service as a black man of the Jim Crow era. Discrimination that is perfectly legal because it is based on one's criminal record. Denial is facilitated by persistent racial segregation in housing and schools, by political officials, by racialized media imagery, and by the ease of changing one's perception of reality simply by changing television channels. As a society, our collective understanding of racism has been powerfully influenced by the shocking images of the Jim Crow era and the struggle for civil rights. The unfortunate reality that we must face is that racism manifests not only in itself, but in individual attitudes and stereotypes that the basic structure of society is upheld on. Academics have developed complicated theories and obscure jargon in an effort to describe what is now referred to structural racism, yet the concept is fairly straightforward. The article then goes on to explain the strong similarities between Jim Crow and mass incarceration. Both systems gained political support from elites who sought to exploit the economic and cultural fears of the poor working-class whites. Both operate by defining what it means for in Black America in the cultural imagination. In the case of mass incarceration, that means defining black men as criminals. Perhaps the most significant and frightening difference is that while both slavery and Jim Crow were systems of labor exploitation, and mass incarceration involves marginalized and removal from society. Alexander points out that similarly, racially based marginalization efforts were precursors to genocides of the 20th century. The question then remains is how do we fix this unjust system, and where do we stand as U.S. citizens? The best advice that I can give you is to continue to stand up for what you know is right, and to support those facing racial injustice day in and day out. There are certain things that are out of our control, but siding with racism is not one of them. Thank you.